With Q&A.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Anybody have questions? I got questions. Seriously though. Yeah, we have about 10 minutes for questions if anybody has any questions for Michelle.
I know you guys are like trying to absorb what the hell just happened. It's cool. You can ask me anything. Yes.
So how'd you get into like exploring erotic poetry?
I was actually, I guess, what Jessica, the founder of Punani Poets, she refers to as a third eye poet. I didn't do much of that. Actually, my name is Love, but I was given that name in college by a friend of mine to do the poetry with, and but I didn't want it to be cliche, so I didn't do much about like relationship love. I did more about like self-love and things like that. So through the years, I became a artist out in the city, and Jessica Halter, the founder of Punani Poets, was here at the Baltimore Book Fest. She met me. I had locks down my back. I didn't know that at the time she actually had heard of me and then began to pay attention. And I didn't quite have, I guess, I later found out I didn't quite have the look she wanted with the locks and all. So once I cut them, which was about maybe 3 years later, I got a phone call. And she lives in Oakland, California. I got a phone call and was like, would you like to audition? So I was like, I don't know if I can do this. You know, my friends were like, hey, get out of here. I was going through some stuff in my life. They were like, get the hell out of here. She's willing to fly you places, pay you, and put you up. Go. Get out of here. Go. So I auditioned at an event. I did some of my own poetry, and then she was there, and she liked it and asked me if I could. I had 4 days to memorize one of her poems, learn to read this. It's a very long narrative poem out of her book, and to do one of my own performance pieces in New York on stage. That was going to be my live audience audition. I had 4 days. And so she gave me the book. We're still at this friends and family party that I just performed at. And she handed it to me, and I got up and I said, well, I'll see you guys later. She was like, you're leaving? And I was like, I got work to do.
Yeah.
So I left, and then 4 days later, they picked me up on the way to New York, did the audition, which you can still find on YouTube. Has like maybe like 9,000 views or something like that. And there it is. And so that's how I got into erotic poetry. Yes.
Do you have a creative process or a set time that you create work, or do you wait for like inspiration to spark or to come to you?
I'm going to repeat the question for the camera.
Okay.
He asked like what your creative process is, if there's a time or something that you find that you're most able to create. Is that accurate?
I don't have, I did say like 4 a.m., like when something really hits me, it wakes me up out of my sleep.
Right.
But I don't necessarily have a time. I'm a full-time artist.
Okay.
So like everything, I've made it very important that everything I do is something creative. So as far as writing goes, it's been interesting. I haven't had, I take that back. There's one special place where I can write. I think I wrote a whole album on the road this time. When I'm flying, when I'm on a plane, I write like crazy. I don't know if it's because part of me is still extremely nervous about flying, even though I'm always on a plane. But it's like this thing I can zone. I'm in the clouds, you know. So I think that's like a major place for me. No problem. Yes.
I guess. Well, I'm just curious if you have any creative tactics for handling a topic that some people may be extremely uncomfortable with and close off, and how you work on kind of bringing them out of themselves, and how you kind of see that.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I frame this correctly. So what do you have specific tactics around working on a theme that can create a lot of walls for people, or that can be really uncomfortable to sort of let their guard down?
Absolutely. And initially I think it was something that I didn't do on purpose, but I realized that there's a particular formula for me. I just do it. I just say it, because as a poet and an artist, and also I teach artist development classes and poetry classes for adults. So I actually have about 5 or 6 individual clients right now, and that's a great question because I work with them to kind of be bold enough to be bold. As a performance poet and as a writer, you have a responsibility. Audre Lorde said that it is our responsibility. Poetry is not revolutionary, it's revelatory. And it's our responsibility to, as the gifted, as the ones who were given this gift, to reveal and to be honest. And so one of the ways I do it is I bring it from my point of view, and I get basically naked on the stage. I'll say whatever, because I know that a lot of people want to say, they're thinking it, but they're just waiting for somebody brave enough to do it. You know what I mean? So I kind of just put myself on the cross and see what happens. You know, some people dig it, some people are like, I don't know. But that's not my issue, that's theirs. I'm pulling people out of their comfort zone. So definitely the formula is just to go in and say whatever I am fucking thinking.
It seems like you use, sorry,
Excuse
this
me,
is
I curse a lot.
No, you can curse, it's fine.
Okay.
This is not to jump in to answer your question for on your behalf, but it seems like you use humor a lot. Like, do you find that becomes like break down the walls, like making people laugh in the middle of something really intense like that?
Yeah. Humor. It's not intentional. I just look at life from a perspective that I think is just a little bit funny. Like, I think people take life, like a lot of things in life, way too seriously. It just is what it is. Hell with it. Laugh. You know what I mean? So yeah, humor definitely helps, especially when you're in a room full of people that aren't necessarily comfortable with much. Yeah, and in a lot of typical poetry venues, a lot of people are like, well, we don't like erotic poets and all these things, and I'm like, well, we're all adults and everybody's having sex, so here you go, you know. And then they're like, oh, true.
Deep down.
Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah, true. Yeah, it's well written. You did that. That's their favorite thing to say. Oh, you wrote that was well written. Anybody else?
It is really well. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you travel with anyone who talks about the penis in the way that you talk about vagina? Because I found that I recently started a line of works where it's extremely sexual, and I find that people are uncomfortable with an image of a penis versus an image of a breast or vagina or something like that. And so.
Yeah. So the question was, do you travel with any poets that talk about the penis in the same ways that you talk about the vagina?
Yes. And I don't know. The females, like, you know, I'm definitely dubbed the lesbian laureate, so a lot of the stuff that I take care of is that, you know, I take care of. I don't play the pronoun game. I like women, so I talk about women from my perspective. And yes, absolutely, especially in the Punani Poets troupe. There's a scene where Jessica, she hasn't done it in a while, but she actually has a rabbit. Women, y'all know what that is. It's a fake one with a little ear thing on it, and it rotates, got beads in it. It's crazy. So, but she does a whole thing with it, and, like, you know, talks about it. And on DJ, she does this whole thing about she pulls out a dildo and puts on a condom with her mouth. You know what I mean? So it's yeah. Look at his eyes. She did that. So it's very, you know, but people do get uncomfortable, and I think that it's really an uncomfortable thing because men are uncomfortable with it. Like, men are uncomfortable seeing, like, if you had a visual art and it was like a penis, you know, and a guy, a super hyper heterosexual dude is like, oh. and so like that gives the energy across the board, you know, in our society. We're a very patriarchal society, so it's like, you know, if the guys are uncomfortable with it, then it's probably something that everybody's gonna feel a little weird about, you know what I mean? But women, and that's just with sexuality as well, you know, gay men face a lot more backlash than gay women do. Because everybody's like, I can understand why you like a woman. Why you like this dude? I don't get it. So it's a crazy thing. It's, you know, people, the double standard is real. But I think that's wild. But yes, we absolutely talk about penises. And I be in the sound booth like, doo-doo-doo.
I think we have time for one more question.
Yes,
So I'm just curious because obviously from a lesbian standpoint you have a lot to talk about vagina, but as a gay man myself, like I find the beauty in the poetry and everything, but I wonder how like the perception of kind of the audience, how that changes when the topic is from a gay man perspective of the penis, not just a woman's perception of the penis.
Right.
Because we can all enjoy the talk and everything of a vagina, because after all we all came out of one. So we all have some connection.
Right.
But the penis is like a very taboo thing, and you were kind of alluding to that, I think.
Yeah. So
I mean, hard to figure
Yes,
that.
let me, you put that into a succinct.
Yeah.
What, yeah, seriously.
The perception of penis, especially of a gay male perception of penis versus a woman's.
So kind of talk about like the perception of the penis from a gay male's perspective as opposed to a female or even a lesbian, and how that changes the approach.
Yeah.
Yeah?
well, that's very interesting.
Nailed it.
Yeah. It's very interesting you ask that because I also host an event in DC called Say Word Saturdays. It's every second Saturday. And the feature I just had last weekend is a gay male poet. And what's happening now in our particular scene is that there are a few young gay male poets that are just like, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to talk about my sex life. I'm going to talk about who I am. I am not going to be afraid. And that's a huge step, especially for black gay males. And so, and these particular ones that are doing this are black gay males. And I have praised them, and I am so excited because you can feel the discomfort in the room when he starts talking about how he likes to have sex and what he likes to do. But it's a necessary discomfort because we cannot continue to pretend like we do not exist, you know, and I think that that's great. He actually did a poem with a heterosexual male who has been on the scene for many, many years, and it's called, E-Baby's portion is called I love pussy, and his is I love dick. And I swear to God, I'm sitting there, this is my first time, my first time hearing this. I'm sitting there and I'm floored because they're in tandem. He says his lines, he says his lines, and it's like this marriage of amazing because you're getting both aspects of, and they're both being extremely candid, and it works. And so there is a movement that's happening. And I can talk to you about it later if you want to be in touch with these gentlemen, because there's a movement that's happening that is very important. People are finally being able to be who they want to be or who they are in public, especially artists. Because there is nothing worse than being an artist and wanting to express and create and being a creative, and you can't create genuinely because you're afraid. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's definitely something that's happening. It's a movement. It's a movement.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. Please feel free to have some more coffee and hang out and look at the art around. Next month, I don't know our date yet, so look alive for that. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook to keep updated with that. Next month's theme is censorship. Probably not what we're talking about. So, yeah, come back and see us. Thank you, guys.